Hi everyone, my name is Arun. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about PIM overview in session 1. So first of all, master data. What is master data? Master data in the sense is it is a critical business data which is related to the product, customer, supplier, location, uh, and in terms of in warehouses, stores, all is a master data, which is very critical to the business, any enterprise business or any retail business. So managing this data based on some principle, process, some conditions, so all in a single source. So that is called as a master data, master data management. Suppose if you take example like Tesco, Sainsbury's, Morrison's, so these are maintained. These has to maintain some data, the product information, or customer information, or this location information, store information. All the information has to maintain in a single source. And a bank, if you take as a banks, so the customers and location, stores and bank locations and number of banks, so all this has to maintain in a single source. All this enterprise, retail, banking, all this domains, this has to manage data in the data has to go on a proper process, so that we can call as this is as a master data management. In terms of MDM point of view, like customer is a domain, uh, and the product is also a domain, location, suppliers is also a individual domain. Here this product is also one of the domains, so we are going to explore more on this coming slides. Here we are going to cover the product information management and a high level architecture of the PIM complete landscape, and the situations about the customer aggravate the challenges have any, and potential MDM products, and any leading vendors in the market, and STIBO is one of the leading vendor in the market. These are the different types of data that we are going to use for STIBO. This has come across. We can use for a STIBO implementation, for STIBO step implementation. About master data. Master data is a structure, and it's like example like which is have been discussed before: the customer, patients, the locations, care homes, uh, stores data. So these are mostly unlikely to change data, and it has is mostly the static data. It is the changes are minimal, so that's why the most of the master data is static. If you take an example like customer address, so the changes are minimal, and then is going to change the address once in a 6 months, or once in a year, or once in a 2 years. So the changes are minimal like that. So that's the reason the most of the master data is static. Transaction data is structure and semi-structure. For example, if you take it as a cash inflow, outflow from the bank, deposits, withdrawals, all we consider as a transactions. Uh, so these data, most of the data is be stored in a SQL data, like SQL data. It is in like we are using like big data. If the data is more than 5 GB or 6 GB, so we use the big data. and like MongoDB. So it's like structural database like MongoDB. So we use to store this based on the business reasons. Because of the data is huge, so that's why we going to the structural database like a MongoDB. Uh, reference data is both structure and semi-structure. So it means that it is reference to the master data. Uh, for it, if you take an example, like every bank is associated to the SAT code or branch code. In India, it was like IFSC code. So every branch is a unique code. So these are the reference data. Compliance and geographical data or country code also treat as a reference data. Metadata. So metadata is structure. So it means that the metadata, data about the data. It means that the product is associated to the particular warehouse, and we need have the product will have the more information like how it was manufactured, what is the features, what is the ingredients. So this example like what is how many ingredients, what is the weight of this. So this is the data, metadata about the product. STIBO system will has to catch all the data, metadata about the product. So we're going to see it in the coming sessions. Analytical data. So analytical data in the sense when a transaction data is used, and we need to find out that like where we find more transaction, less transaction, what's the critical time. So based on some tools, these are in the market, so many tools to data analyzation tools. So those we have to analyze a particular like peak period, non-peak period, and how many transactions per minute per hour. So these data has to be collected. This we call as analytical data. The documents and contents. It's like the product will have the digital images or like videos. So each product is associated some like videos will belongs to that. So all will be stored in the document and contents. Big data is unstructured, so that because of the transaction, if you consider the transaction volume, huge transactions, so it's stored in a large data sets. So for that we use NoSQL, so like MongoDB, so databases we use because it's a unstructured data. Master data management, I think we have already discussed it. Suppose the product will have complaints information, marketing information, pricing information. Like that, product will have different information. Like we discussed about the supplier, products, location, stores, warehouses. So everything will have the different information about the product. So it has a huge information, so you will not have a 360 degrees view of the information if the data is more. So to make this simple, so to make this view of the 360 degrees view of this, so that's why we use for a STIBO step tool to categorize, to configure all the information, to manage in a proper process. We use the STIBO tool to consolidate and is a single source of data. That's why we use this tool. So many dissimilarities, data inconsistencies we have. So if you maintain a single source of data, or if you're sending a product to any of the geography, I mean any of the, if you want to send the product to Chinese, so the product should be associated and follow the certain rules of the geographical rules, conditions, and the data should be compliance to the particular geography, like Chinese geography. If the product is sending to the Europe, so European, as per the European market, European geographical data related stuff has to be stored. This is a contextual data, so we need to maintain the data as per the market standards. Suppose if you collect the data for a particular product, like 50 or 60 attributes, so and out of that, a few odd has to be mandatory, like 10 or 15 are mandatory. So the remaining will be emptied. So it may not be belongs to the particular, the product belongs to the particular geography, so we just make it as a blank, and this remaining, the mandatory field has to be there, so that then only the product will be enter into the STIBO. Before storing this, so all validations checks, so we are going to write down by JavaScript. So the geographical condition, and if the product is moving from all approvals moving from one geography to another geography, so that every validation has to be passed and then stored into this load into the STIBO. So the next slide is about the product, and the product is a saleable or is a saleable entity, or is a consumable item or object, and it's a tangible or intangible, is a physical or logical. So it also provides just like item, service, asset. It can be a raw material offerings. So these are all the product is self-explanatory. So these are the domains: is retail, banking, manufacturing, healthcare, telecom. So food is a retail, will be the food, non-food, electronics, preference, banking, account, customer logging. So the various data flow, so which take care of, which generally part of master data management. Yeah, here is the hierarchy, the product hierarchy. Basically, the hierarchy which helps to classify the products. Generally, we have one primary classification and more than one or two, so we'll have the secondary classification. So primary hierarchy is just like, most of the time used by business team as a primary hierarchy for all the product information enterprise hierarchy. So all the primary hierarchy used by business. Whereas about the secondary hierarchy, which is something exposed to outside the world. Suppose if you take it as a example, like e-commerce site like Sainsbury's or Tesco, if you search for any product like milk, so you can search in a two different ways. The hierarchies, the secondary, it will be like a different way, like organic milk or normal milk. So you can search in a maybe two or three ways to find out the particular product. Or if you navigate this particular hierarchy, so we easily find it out. So it can be a two or three based on the business. Like I said before, the primary hierarchy used by business users, and to categorize the product, what is the attributes to be used by the business. So all has to be configuration has to be done by business owner. Yeah, for example, if the product attributes for a laptop and product attributes for a wardrobe is totally different, so it has to be, the categorization has to be done. Basically the primary hierarchy will that drives this categories as well. So many things, but as a category is one of the main thing which drives by primary hierarchy, which is managed by business owners. This is the example of landscape, PIM landscape. Normally, like the legacy system, ERP, and the content management system stores the images, the digital images into the system. Any PIM implementation, whatever the data is there in ERP, that is the system and CMS, has to import into this STIBO. So that's the first step when you are implementing into the PIM. Then you will start working on existing item plus and start creating new items as well. We have integration layer here, so this normally the files transfer from this systems to STIBO. So this integration layer will help to transform these files. So that's a basic step for implementing any PIM implementations. All comes in terms of the product repository, like a primary product hierarchy or the different hierarchies. So whatever the hierarchies is available, so all will be corresponding hierarchy. The data will be stored from the import. So this data model will helps like what are the data available, like multi-language, multi-channel, and multi-country data. All this data model will support here for inside the STIBO. Here the workflows will helps like how the data flow or how the data governance. So all will this workflows will help you in a landscape. So on top of that, we are going to write some business rules with the JavaScript to provide any custom validation or custom rules. It can be done on top of to validate any product or to validate any workflow to retrieve or to just verify the data. So we are using the business validation rules from the JavaScript. Here is a security framework will help you to track any data governance, like anything data mismatch or anything who logged into that, who has done anything. So all the operations can be tracked here, the security framework. And web UI is just like a workflow, so like in the front end, like based on the validations, and you can define the hierarchies at the front end, the stable front end. So the business can verify and validate from a UI only. So what we implement is in the back end, stable, what you are defining it. But the web UI is which help this, like the front face of this, like business owners can see this user interfaces. And also you have some anything to be the reverted, like the product, the data has to be reverted to previous version. So this this is out of box feature is available as part of the PM implementation in a landscape. We have some infrastructure events, like we want to schedule any job or events, so it can be done here. So that it will, and again the to this has to be validated with the validation tool. It comes under business validation tools, and we can define with our JavaScript. Just like the events and scheduler to publish the content, so that will help this event based on event based figuring this particular time, and scheduler will help to schedule the event. So these two can help on the as part of PM implementation. So then this is export to again integration layer. So it can be like AW reporting, point of sale. So like exporting, so how you are doing import. So like API interfaces will help the like endpoint. So you need to connect to the endpoint for import and export here in the inside STIBO configuration. Just you need to add this import URL and export URL. Just connect to the legacy all export legacy systems as well. So if you see that the content manager will publish here, and yeah, so the content manager is published here. So to the front end, and web UI is an interface which business users can see this, and all the relevant hierarchy, like product owner hierarchy, enterprise hierarchy. All the different hierarchies will store the data here and export into the all legacy systems. So through this integration layers, all the data are transformed into downstream systems and fixed format. So mostly this is part different from the different project, but here this is XML format. The XML format. So basically, these legacy systems understand XML, so I have to transform the data in terms of XML file. Yeah, vendors portal. So vendors is like kind of a suppliers. This is third party. So we also give access to them, so they can do the product enrichment in case if they want to do it. So we have to provide access to them for in case of a product enrichment. Basically, for a vendor portals, we are giving just limited access only. So for because some changes are minimal, and so we are giving only limited access to them, not for a complete access to work on the product data.